Welcome to Sportsbet Daily at oddsmarket.com. We've had a 2-week break on the UFC, but we head to the capital, Washington, D.C. for ESP7. Team Liveline boys, Dave and Jace, my boys, obviously going to be up against Team Low-Hanging Fruit Bag. Gentlemen, how are we?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. I look at these 3 fights, main event, co-event, and a couple of the others, and they're quite tight, Jay.
Yeah, I don't really like this event, really. It's just, we're just waiting to get to next week for cap the year off. But there are a couple good fights on this card. But for the most part, it's a pass.
Okay. David, look at the odds and the markets, and they're near enough a pick 'em.
Yeah, you talking in regards to the main event, Flash?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just basically looking down the card, and I'm like thinking the co-main events like minus 120, plus 110. I got main event minus 110 and plus 105. Why don't we just kick straight off with the main event? Alistair Overeem minus 110, Jairzinho Rozenstruik at plus 105.
Yeah, so you can split this card down the middle, and we've got 12 fights. If we cut them in half, you look at the first set of odds, we're going to see some juice numbers. You're going to be looking at minus 400, minus 300, minus 250. And then as soon as the card makes its way towards the main event and the co-main and the top header fights, we start to see the lines smooth out slightly. The main event, Alistair Overeem versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. These odds I gave out, I think it's been 3 weeks now. Just before the break, I released an article for SBR, and I gave Rozenstruik, I gave him at plus 110. And the money is starting to come in on him because there's a certain hype train for this guy. He's had 3 fights in the UFC, and he has finished them all in devastating fashion. He has the power behind his hands that not many people possess. There's a handful of people that we see come through the UFC over the decades that will possess this sort of power in different weight divisions. See guys like Conor possesses this weird power in his left. We'll see guys like the legend Hendo possess a scary amount of power. More recently, we see guys like Francis Ngannou packing. These guys do not even need to put effort into their strikes without people just dropping like flies. Now we've got Alistair Overeem, who is an absolute legend. I will never forget his debut. The poster, if you can spot it, will be around me somewhere. He made his debut against Brock Lesnar, who is known for being a WWE wrestler, but also a championship wrestler, real wrestling, who made his move to the UFC and took the heavyweight title. Wow. Overeem came in and he made quick work of him, and the echo from the body shot still rings in my ear to this day. If you rewatch that fight, you will see a monster take down a monster, basically. I think it's been around 8 years, 9 years, maybe more than that. We've watched Overeem have a bit of a tipsy-turvy career. He's never been able to get to the point where he can take that gold. He's taken gold in other organizations. He is a kickboxing champion. He is awesome at Muay Thai. With this fight we've got at the weekend, it's new blood versus the old blood. And the old blood, you can't say he's on a decline because he's on a fight win streak. The problem I have here, the guys that he has fought and won against do not generate any power that could touch Rozenstruik's power. It's not even close. He needs to land one combination or even one strike, and Overeem is going to fall like a sack of spuds, mate. There's no other. Look, people are arguing Overeem's case, and that's fine. Look, it's the heavyweight division. Anything can happen. Anyone can get dropped. But we've got a 31-year-old up-and-comer who is 9-0, undefeated, against Overeem, who has, I think, 10 losses by KO. Might be a bit less than that, maybe 8 or 7. Can't remember exactly, but he's got a bunch of losses by KO, and these KOs go all the way back to 2011. So it's not like it's something new. He's not, you know, deteriorating in his old age and all of a sudden, you know, losing by knockout and stuff. That's not the case. He has just been chinny for a while. If you can catch Overeem with enough power, you're going to put him out. And now he's up against a guy who, fair enough, might not have a wrestling background, but he does have certain guys in his gym like Kamaru Usman who are some of the best wrestlers the UFC has ever seen. So now we have to look at Overeem and what is he going to bring to the table? He's an incredible striker, but I think his team knows enough to not get in the box and stand toe-to-toe with Rozenstruik because he's going to get knocked out. So their game plan is probably going to be, right, we probably need to get this fight to the ground. The best bet for us is to take him down and, you know, lay some strikes on him, or maybe even attempt a submission, because Rozenstruik is going to be like a fish out of water on the ground. Fair enough. I've watched him be taken down. I've also watched him get straight back up. I've watched Overeem take people down and hold certain guys down, but other guys can just pop straight back up out of Overeem because he is not a wrestler. He does have the skill to take people down. He's great in the clinch. He has great trips. But people are also forgetting the background of Rozenstruik. He is also great in the clinch. He has also fought Muay Thai and he's also done kickboxing. So he is no stranger to the clinch work. And I can't see Alistair Overeem shooting in at the hips and going for double leg takedowns and chain wrestling and doing what wrestlers do. Why? Because he's not a wrestler. So I can't support the case of Alistair Overeem beating Rozenstruik with his wrestling when he's not a wrestler. Fair enough, he's the more well-rounded fighter, but he is coming up against a guy who he's going to have to fight 25 minutes and avoid his punches. Because as soon as them punches land, it is lights out for Alistair Overeem. Originally, for the FBI article, I gave him out, I gave him out at plus 110, but now I'm looking at him to finish inside the distance for plus 130, and there's no other play for me. So this week on Dogs in the Rods, it was my second play on Dogs in the Rods. I've taken Rozenstruik. It's not a double back. I gave the plus 110 out. I didn't bet him at that. There's not enough liquidation in the market for me to bet that. So that is for the guys that want to bet smaller stakes and stuff. Carry on. But I'd still happily take. I'm seeing plus 105 on the board right now. I'm seeing minus 105. I'd even take that if you just want to take it straight. But my personal opinion is Rozenstruik is not going to win by decision. I don't think we're going to see this guy win by decision. Alistair Overeem cannot survive the strikes that are going to come from this guy for 25 minutes. I love Rozenstruik. I loved him before the hype train. I loved him as soon as he came in the UFC. All you have to do is go back and watch his kickboxing contests. He was a bit more wild in his kickboxing days, but now he's leveled out. He's training with some serious dudes. He's at a great gym. He's on a 3-fight win streak. All of those have ended in the first round, and his previous fight with what's his name, Arlovsky. Jesus, he didn't even throw the punch. Arlovsky just walked into his jab. He walked into it. He barely put anything behind it. Now, if he starts throwing bombs against Overeem, it's over. There's no way out for the Reem in this one. As much respect as I have for Overeem, I think he would have been more comfortable fighting Walt Harris, and that's not even a joke. Walt Harris couldn't even put Arlovsky out. So, and no disrespect to Walt Harris, rest in peace to his daughter. There's some serious stuff going on. That was meant to be the original fight, by the way. Overeem. Rozenstruik's coming in on 30 days notice, but that doesn't even make much difference either. He doesn't need a fight. He hasn't even had fights. He has stepped in the UFC 3 times, and he has just let his power go, and people are lights out. He is the second coming of Francis Ngannou. I even think he would beat Francis Ngannou. Do you know why? Because this guy can generate power from nothing. Francis Ngannou is a swinger. He generates his power from his swings and his punches. This guy, it's like he just pulls the power from nowhere. He's like a Dragon Ball Z character. I don't know where it comes from. This is a natural born talent. This is not something you can learn in the gym. Give me Rozenstruik. Thank you very much. I'll be backing him all the way.
Jay, you're very rarely on the opposite side of the fence to Dave. Are you on the opposite side this time?
No. It's an interesting fight. It reminds me of the Chris Weidman fight about a month ago. I said that the most fatal body part in the UFC was Weidman's chin. And I feel similar in this fight, but to a lesser extent. Alistair Overeem's been active the last few years, and he has had good performances where he's looked good. But over the last 5 years, what's not looked good is his chin. I feel like the only reason that he has won fights the last few years, it's because he was lucky enough not to get hit square in the jaw. Because anybody that hits the button square drops this guy now. Overeem is a gifted kickboxer and Muay Thai fighter. He's the most accurate striker in the history of the UFC. He lands 74% of his significant strikes thrown, which is incredible. He's one of the greatest heavyweight kickboxers of all time. Like, you have to give him his respect. He's got solid footwork for a heavyweight. He has decent power. He uses all his limbs in his striking. And he has great fight IQ because of the incredible quantity of fights that he's taken part in. But what he does not have is much of a ground game. He's supposedly a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but we haven't really seen any grappling skills from him because he's usually on his feet. At this point in his career, he is what he is, a gifted striker with very little defensive skills and a bad chin. And he's the oldest fighter on the card. He's almost 40 years old, and we all know that while power is the last thing that you lose, your chin is one of the first things that you lose. On the other side of the cage, Rozenstruik is a beast. I have no idea how to pronounce his first name, so I'm not even going to try to butcher it. I can't find any information really on the background of this kid. But here, what we do know about him, it's his fourth fight in the UFC. He's won his first 3 fights by knockout, 2 of them against Alan Crowder and Andrei Arlovski, where he planted them both like a tree in the first round. And the third win was a knockout over Junior Albini, which he planted in the second round. He's got devastating and unforgiving knockout power. He runs through his opponents like a train. He already owns the second fastest win in UFC heavyweight history over Crowder. But we've not seen anybody come close to being able to handle the power that this kid has. What concerns me is that we don't know a lot about him because he's only had 9 professional fights, in which he's won them all. He
and
is
80,
at a disadvantage in this
professional
fight
when
it comes to fight IQ.
Boxing.
Because he doesn't have a ton of cage time. But in my opinion, the question to that answer is, will he lose this fight? And I just don't see it, man. This is not the Overeem that beat Brock Lesnar. This is an almost 40-year-old Overeem with little to no chin. So it's the second fight that Rozenstruik's had in 35 days. Because he wasn't even touched against Arlovski. So in my opinion, the only way this fight can go is Rozenstruik inside the distance at 2.30. So that's what will be the pick in the article, and that's what I've already put my money on.
Okay, well, let's move on then. Co-main event, Marina Rodriguez and Cynthia Calvillo. Let's go with you, Jay.
Yeah, at first, when I began breaking this fight down, I was like, who cares about this fight? You know, it's 2 women's strawweights just on the inside of the top 10. But neither of them can beat anybody in the top 5 of that division. So this fight really doesn't excite me at all. The fact that this is a co-main event is a joke. Then I started watching some tape on these women, and I came out the other side thinking one of them puts me to sleep, and the other one actually kept my interest in every fight. Cynthia Calvillo might be 8-1. She might have won 5 of 6 fights in the UFC, but she doesn't impress me really at all. She throws very little volume. She's slow. Her footwork leaves a lot to be desired. Her takedown attempts are choreographed in a way that you could see them coming from a mile away. But with all that said, she has a solid ground game. I guess you would call her a wrestler that has a solid submission game. She's capable of pulling off submissions for sure if she gets her opponents in the right position, but she's far from the best grappler in the division. On the other side of the cage, Marina Rodriguez. Now, there are so many fighters in the UFC, Flash. It's not it's not hard to be completely versed, and it is hard to be completely versed in every fighter that off the top of your head. So that's why Dave and I prepare every week by watching tape, because the fight normally the fight tape normally doesn't lie. I wasn't versed in the skills of this girl, but I watched her on tape, and I'm a fan. She's a very good striker. Her footwork is rock solid. Her angles in and out of exchanges are very advanced for a female fighter with only 13 pro fights. She's lightning quick because of her skinny frame, and her hand speed is really impressive. Because of her hand speed, she has fantastic combinations. Her arms can't be more than 3 inches round, but she throws everything with purpose. And for someone who is that small, she actually has nice power. She throws with all four limbs. Her feints and level changes are above average. In the end, she looks like a little pit bull to me. Now, if Calvillo can get her to the ground, I think she may have an issue. But Tisha Torres, who is a better wrestler than Cynthia Calvillo, had a hard time getting Marina Rodriguez to the ground. So I think as long as she stays upright, she's got a big advantage right now on the feet. And you can get her right now at about 1.73. And that's what I'll be on this Saturday. I like her a lot, Marina Rodriguez.
Dave, is it one-way traffic for you too?
It's not, but I'll have to look. There's two ways you can approach this. There is, for me, there's a betting approach, and then there's a who you think who has the better chance of winning the fight. Now, every fight starts standing, and I don't think Cynthia is a natural born wrestler. Marina will outstrike her. She's going to have the reach on her. She used to do Muay Thai. She's a former Muay Thai fighter. She even has a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm thinking now, Marina's going to come out. She's going to strike. The game plan for Cynthia in this one is going to be similar to her previous fight when she fought Courtney Casey. Now, Courtney Casey was pinned down to be the better striker, and she was going to totally outclass Cynthia on the feet. And Cynthia's game plan was to come out and wrestle and get her to the ground. What happened? Cynthia couldn't finish the takedown. She couldn't get Courtney Casey down, so she was left to strike. Now, when she was left to strike, I'm sure everybody was rubbing their hands. Okay, it's great. And what did we see? She outstruck the striker. Now, I think she's facing a better striker, but I also have to take a look at the Ronda Marcos fight. And the Ronda Marcos fight, Marina didn't really impress me. I think the level of competition that she's fought since in Jessa Aguilar and Tisha Torres are aging fighters who are just slower, and they're not the same fighters that they once were. Now, I'm not saying that Cynthia's a spring chicken, but both of these girls have only been fighting for 5 years. For me, this fight is a pick-em. So if we approach this with a betting strategy, for me, it's a dog or pass situation. I think that if Cynthia does land the takedown, that Marina's just going to be on her back doing nothing. I think she might be able to throw maybe a couple submission attempts up now and then. But I have to side with the wrestler with this one. It's an odds play. You can get Cynthia Calvillo for plus 115 in a fight where it's just hard to pick. It's a coin toss, and that's similar with a lot of fights on this card. We look at Rozenstruik, coin toss. Lad Kunitskaya, coin toss. Simone and Font, coin toss. Alves Means, coin toss. And I think that's about it for your coin tosses, but you get my point. When you see these fights where you break it down and you see it as a pick-on, I just have to go with the dog's odds, and that's what works for me. That's why I have the article, the dog's odds. That's why I'm up plus 30 units since August. Is because these dogs, they add up. We will lose some, you will lose some, but yeah, like I said, it's a betting move. We're on a betting show. I'm gonna take Cynthia, but if you were asking me if we were doing, say, a competition and we were making selections, then I'm probably going to pick Marina Rodriguez because I think she has an easier path to victory. It's just if Cynthia can get the takedown or not, which we don't know. Courtney Case is quite a strong girl. She brushed them off. I'm not sure if Rodriguez has that same strength or even experience. She has no decent team behind her. At least, I can say for Cynthia, at least she has Tiger Muay Thai. So she's going to have guys around her like Callie Roundtree, Peter Yan. She's going to be learning. She's going to be learning how to catch them kicks that Rodriguez is going to throw. And if Rodriguez throws one too many kicks, she's going to get caught, especially that front kick that she likes to throw. If that gets caught, yeah, it's going to scare her. If she gets taken out, then say goodbye to her leg kicks. Then all we've got is a punching Marina Rodriguez versus a Cynthia who will do anything. So yeah, it's not a fade on Jay. It's not. I'm not going head to head with Jay. I just think betting wise, I'd have to pick Cynthia Calvillo for me.
All right. Well, let me throw another coin toss at you. We haven't got too long. I mean, we've only got a couple of days to Saturday. But Ricky Simon plus 120 and Rob Font at minus 126. Dave.
Yeah, it's once again, it's a coin toss where we can get plus 130 on Ricky Simon. Look, this guy was so unlucky to get knocked out in his previous fight. He came up against Uriah Faber, who was fighting in his hometown. We hadn't seen him for a long time. No one was expecting Uriah Faber to win. I can't remember what the odds are. I think he was plus 400. I think it was like 4.00 on the decimal. Something crazy anyway. So he comes in. And he starts losing the match, as everyone expected, on the back foot. He didn't know what he was doing, and he just fought. He just fought. It was like a street fight reaction. And Ricky Simone got caught. Ricky Simon. I'm not even sure how you pronounce this kid's name, but he is an incredible kid. When you look at his fight tape, he does not stop. He comes forward, and a lot of those fights, how he fought similar against Uriah Faber, he came forward and he was successful. So I'm not surprised that he had the same game plan to push forward aggressively and try and finish Faber, because Faber's an old dude who was there for the taking. It was just unfortunate that he got caught. Unlucky. That's what I'll put that as. I do not think Uriah Faber was the better fighter. I don't think Uriah Faber would win the rematch. And yeah, for me, Ricky Simon just got caught. That's just what it was. Nothing you can do about it. We move on. He's now fighting Rob Font. Rob Font, he's going to know that Rob Font is the more technically profound striker in this one. I can't see Ricky pushing forward how he usually does. It's going to be a wrestling game plan for him. He has some strong double legs. He doesn't have much more in his offensive wrestling tool belt, but he does have a strong double leg takedown, which I have watched him land so many times on fight tape. That I just don't think Rob Font can avoid this. I don't think Rob Font can avoid this. I think Rob Font's going to get taken down, might see some ground and pound, maybe some submission attempts. We'll see some striking on the feet, because, listen, Ricky can strike on the feet. I just don't think he is on the level of Rob Font when it comes to striking, standing. So, yeah, I've got no doubt that Rob has a striking advantage, but I can't vouch for much else. I can't put my chips on his power. I don't think he's going to be able to knock Ricky out unless, Ricky comes in crazy like he did against Faber, which I just don't think he's going to do. He's going to have learned his lesson. He's going to come in calm, collected. He's going to wait for that takedown, wait for them strikes from Rob. Rob has one of the best jabs in the game. I will put that in there. His jab is crisp. His jab is perfect. I think they know this. That's one of the main things they're going to be avoiding is the great striking of Rob Font. It's one of the toughest fights to predict on the card. I'm not going to lie. So once again, we go and we take this from a betting perspective. And we're getting odds. I'm not sure what they're at now. Let me just double check that.
Ricky Simon's
the
120.
best you can get.
Plus 120
Yeah.
and minus 126.
Yeah. If you have access to a Pinnacle account, you can get plus 128. If you're using Will Bet, around 120. I like them odds. I think for a fight that is a toss up, everyone's looking at Uriah Faber and knocking him out. People need to just go back a bit further. This kid's an animal. I know Jay supports him. I didn't even pay much attention to Ricky until Jay said, I really like this kid this week. And as soon as I paid attention and remembered what he was about, that's where my chips have to go. And he is the second dogs in their odds play for this week.
Nice one, Dave. Jay, we know that you like Ricky, but is this going to go to a decision?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, Dave and we agree on the fight. I do think that we get there a little differently though. Like Rob Font's a striker, you know, he doesn't have a ton of power like Dave said. He has a phenomenal jab, and he's a range kickboxer really. But he also has solid wrestling. If he can get you to the ground, his top control is not bad really. But I really like this kid a lot, man. I really do. Ricky Simone, we last saw him, like Dave said, he got caught in a fight against Uriah Faber, who came out of retirement and got lucky. He got the luckiest knockout of his life. Up until that point, Ricky Simone had a head of steam behind him. He looked incredible. He was winning that fight against Uriah Faber up until the minute he got knocked out. You know, it's hard to name what Ricky Simone's style is because the kid is a lunatic. He's a ball of aggression that moves forward, and he strikes at range until he can get inside. And once he gets inside, he rides you for 15 minutes like a wet blanket. His wrestling skills are rock solid. He has power in his punches, but you know he's just not your typical range kickboxer. The one factor in this fight that I think is the game changer and why I'm on him is pressure. Now, Dave was like, you know, because Rob Font is a good striker, he didn't think that Ricky Simone's game plan would be to come in and pressure him. But Rob Font is terrible against pressure. He can't fight off his back foot. We've seen him in multiple instances where his striking and his wrestling defense goes out the window the second somebody gets in his face. So one thing that we know will happen in this fight, I believe, is that Ricky Simone is going to get in the phone booth and fight this guy until he could just ride him down to the ground like a wet blanket and wrestle screw this kid for 15 minutes. That's why I think when you ask me, do I think the fight goes the distance? Probably. Unless Rob Font somehow gets a knockout on Ricky Simone, which I just don't see, I think the fight goes 15 minutes for sure. And I got my book has Ricky Simone at 2.25. So I bet him this morning actually.
But you
at
could,
2.25.
Jay, but you could combine that with a dog and a decision. You're going to get a little bit more if you think it's going to go that way.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. You'll probably get. I don't really know. Maybe somewhere between plus 150 and plus 200 for Simone by decision. I don't have that prop yet, so I took him out at plus 125 just to win the fight.
Okay. Well, listen. That wraps us up, though, boys. I'm going to see you tomorrow, Jay. NFL, massive NFC matchup with the 49ers and the Saints. So make sure we go through that. Dave, get your thinking cap on. Lower leagues, we need to smash out a few winners. But as usual, absolutely top draw. Get yourself right into them cards because obviously Team Liveline against Team Low Hanging Low Bag. We want to make sure that we're victorious. You are my boys, and I thank you and I wish you luck.
Nice one,
Thanks,
Flash. Team No Bag, yeah, good luck to them. Yeah. Actually, we get quite a few views on this. Start using the comment box, people. We want to see your fight predictions in the comment box. We want to know who you're on and what are some of the best odds that you get. We've been getting thousands of views and people are just shy. So I want to see comments in the box who you think is going to win this weekend and for next weekend as well. UFC
and anyone that's got any questions and obviously we've got predictions, just make sure you put at Dave Betts and send them all to him because he will be up all night answering them while me and Jay are doing the live line tomorrow, which will be the Bears and Dallas. Take care, gentlemen.
See you tomorrow.
That's brilliant. They're my boys at UFC, NFL, and lower leagues, and that's Dave and Jay. Now tomorrow we've got NFL. It's a massive week in the NFC. as we say, the 49ers. Unlucky last week against AFC's number 1, Baltimore Ravens. But this weekend, they go up against their closest rivals in the NFC, the Saints. And then it'll be the lower leagues with myself and Dave. Till then, you take care.